ladies.
Hi.
Good evening, because I'm sure it's evening.
Well, it is evening. If you look at the clock behind us, we're 20 minutes from bed, but we wanted to just kind of have a PJ talk with everybody. And we've been being asked quite a few questions by all of you. And so Cindy and I wanted to kind of have a little chat with you and fill you in on some things we're doing and what's going on in our lives. And
so if you're interested in that, stay tuned.
Anyway, so we're kind of ready for bed. We're in our jammies and
we're sisters in stitches. For those of you that don't know, I'm Cindy, I'm Debbie. We're sisters and we're about a year apart. So
we're Irish twins. We're actually 11 months apart.
Yeah. So the one question everybody asks us is about our family. So Debbie, go ahead, tell them a little bit about your family.
My family or our family?
Yours.
Okay, so
which is mine, but I mean your immediate family.
Well, my immediate family has changed, which you all know. I was married to my husband for 38 years, or I was with him for 38 years, married for 36, and then he passed away in June of 2018. And with him, I had 3 boys. Michael is my oldest. He's 36, and he lives with his. He's married and lives in what's the name of that town?
It's in Delaware, right?
Newcastle, Delaware. And he works for the FAA. And then my middle son is Matt. He is 33, and he lives here
Chicagoland.
In the Chicagoland area. And then my youngest son, Mark, he's 30. He also lives in the Chicagoland area, not too far, like 7 houses from his brother. And my 2 youngest sons and I run a flooring company out of Chicago. And I don't do it too much anymore. The boys are kind of running it basically on their own. I come in once a week to do the videos with Cindy and then to do some of the financial stuff at the business. Sometimes it's every other week, so it just depends on how busy we are. COVID is taking quite a bit. Our business is taking a big hit with the whole COVID thing. It's really hurt our business this year, so I'm really hoping our business survives. So that was my original family, and then my husband passed away at the age of 58 in 2018. I then sold the home in the Chicagoland area that we shared together, and I moved to our lake house about 2.5 hours west. And in doing that, I met my now husband, Travis. We met in January, and we're married at the end of April. So it was
not too fast, and it wasn't a shotgun wedding. No, trust me, she wasn't pregnant.
That's not even possible anymore. And so it's been a whirlwind. I mean, we got married just on our property, and we have 20 acres, which I'm gonna put a link for you to look at. We just listed the house. We're gonna sell the bigger house and move into the smaller house so we can pay everything off and be debt free. That's our goal. So if you want to see where I'm living now, the link is right below. You can look at the house I live in now. I redecorated it when I moved in, so
she had to. It was kind of a bachelor pad.
It was a bachelor pad in Hurton. But anyway, that's my new life. So Travis has my stepson lives with us. His name is Lucas. He's 15.
Sweet boy.
And then my husband has a 21-year-old daughter who lives on her own. She's going to college and, doing the whole college thing. So that's my new family. So there you have it.
And
I had 4 dogs. One passed away 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was
we gave another one to a family friends of ours. And so now we're finally down to 2 dogs, which is much more doable than 4.
So I got married at the age of 19 and a half to Tim. Didn't have to. Was not a shotgun wedding. We were just silly and stupid. And after a year of marriage, I got pregnant with my oldest daughter, Vicky. I have 4 daughters. She has 3 sons. Well, she just told you that. So I got all the girls. She got all the boys. And man, I will tell you before I go into it, our households were so different when the kids were little. Her house was noisy and rambunctious from minute 1 when they got out of bed. And my girls are just kind of like, just kind of getting into the, but I'll tell you what, I think raising boys is probably a lot easier than girls, a lot less emotional. But anyway,
I
uh,
think boys are easier as they age. They're harder in the get go because they're so physical. So they're harder when they're little, and then they get easier as they get older. Where I think girls are easier in the beginning and get harder as they get older.
yeah, teenage girls are just the worst. Love my girls, but hard to raise. So my oldest daughter, Vicky, will be 39. That's really hard to say. Almost 40. She's 39 and has my two oldest grandkids, a boy and a girl, Annabelle and Ryan. They're 9 and 7. And she was married for 10 years, and then her husband is the one that passed away from pancreatic cancer in March, almost a year ago. So we've been dealing with a lot of grief issues just as a family, helping her through it, and she's doing pretty good. She has bad days and good days, but we're getting through it as a family and helping each other. And then my second daughter, Kristen, is going to be 35, only 34, going on 35. And she lives about a half hour north of me, no kids. And she's with her boyfriend, Tony, for, wow, quite a few years. And she works as a dental assistant. And then my third daughter, Stephanie, who lives right across the street from me, she will be 31 next week. And she has my other two grandkids, two girls, Ellie, who is 4, and Violet, who's a year and a half. And she's been married. She's been with Chris forever. I mean, since high school. And then I had my fourth daughter, Sam. She was born in 95 and passed away in 05. For those of you that follow our channel know about this, but she died from complications to the chickenpox back in 05. So I have 3 daughters with me right now and 1 in heaven. And I was married to Tim, my ex-husband, for 23 years. And then probably a year and a half after he left, I met John. And John has 2 girls, Sam, his oldest, who has 2 kids, and Natalie and Chloe, who are the same age as my 2 grandkids. And then his youngest daughter, Steph, is 29, I think. I should know that. But she's pregnant with her first baby. So between John and I, we have 6 daughters and 6 grandkids. And I've been with John we just went on 18 years in January, and we're not married and we live separately. It works out much better for us that way. So,
and
that's my
note
family.
Of interest, Cindy's daughter Stephanie, who's 30, and mine Mark are 5 days apart.
Yeah.
Mark was born on the 16th, Stephanie was born on the 11th, and when Cindy went into labor, her husband was working and too far away, so she called me to come take her to the hospital. So I get in the car and I fly up there and I get her to the hospital, and I'm walking her in, and I'm like, she's having a baby, and they're like, which one? Because we both were 9 months pregnant. Yeah. So it was pretty funny. But anyway, and then I was mad that she went first, because I said if we would have switched babies, I would have had a girl and she would have had a boy. So you know what? Truth be told, I'm a better mom to boys than I would have been to girls, and I'm finding that out with my stepdaughter. I don't watch my tone when I speak to her, and I upset her quite a bit most of the time, because I talk to her like I talk to my sons. And she's not used to that, and I'm not used to talking to girls, so we have a few issues.
When my girls would go over to her house for sleepovers or whatever when they were younger, they would come home like, oh, they said this, and they said that, and they just blurt stuff out, you know. I mean, I'm not going to mention them on here so we don't get tagged for inappropriate language, but it's just funny how different the languages in an all boys house.
It wasn't swearing. It was just terms for different body parts that they would say.
And then when my girls would go over, Debbie would get the girls and literally like do their hair all night and their make, because she didn't have any boys to do that with, and they're just like, oh, she did my hair all night, that kind of stuff. But they always wanted to go
because
over.
I did that, I found lice in my sister's hair.
Yeah.
In two of her girls' hair. I was running my hands through it, and I kept feeling all these little knobby things, and I'd look at them and go, oh!
It was right at the start of a school year when not everybody, but there's always lice issues, but
it was pretty funny, actually.
So, and then you guys saw the tour of my house. If you didn't, I can put the link up, but I just moved into it a year ago, and it's my first house on my own. I was always living in apartments, or I would be in and out of John's house trying to find a place. So it was but now I'm stable after, almost 20 years of divorce. So what about you? What about your housing situation?
Well, I just said we just put the big house in the woods up for sale because it's 3,100 square feet, 3 levels. I'm sick of cleaning it. I got to clean that one. Then we have the lake out, the smaller cottage. It's a ranch, 3-bedroom to a 1.5 bath ranch. And Trav, we live on 20 acres. And Trav is always having to cut trees that have fallen, and he has to cut a bunch of firewood every year because it's got a wood burning system, so you don't have to use your furnace. And the reason he has that is because it costs like $100 a month to heat that big house using the wood burner. But you have to have all the wood to keep putting in it. So you should see the stack of wood that we have to get through one winter. And you don't have to use the burner. If you don't turn it on, it does have a furnace it has actually 2 furnaces and 2 air conditioners, which adequately heat and cool the house. But he is very good about money, so he likes to do it the cheapest way possible. So he's not wanting to take care of the 20 acres or anything anymore. So that was the main reason we decided to downsize. And I've been watching all those tiny house living shows, and I think they're
live in
fascinating.
A tiny house like that.
I couldn't do that, but this is 1,100 square feet. It's big enough to live in. It's a regular house with a yard and a driveway and a garage. Not one of those little homes on wheels is what they call them. But I think it's cool that people can do that, and I think it's fun to watch it to see how they downsize that small.
I watch it strictly for organizational ideas.
Yeah,
seriously. All right. Well, I have a question for Debbie, which she doesn't know in advance, because I wanted to see how she would answer. And this was given to us by one of our viewers back when we were supposed to do this video. And the question is, and I'll answer it too, but the question is, if you got a phone call in the middle of the night from the police that your sister did something wrong, what would your first thought be of what she did? So what do you think I would have done wrong that the police would have to call you?
At what point in your life?
Well, okay, we're going to do it for right now.
Right now?
Right now.
What would you have done?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh. Had one too many cocktails out with John.
Well, that's not a crime.
It is if it's a DUI.
Well, of course, I don't.
Well, you're saying the police are calling me. What would you have done, you said?
Yeah.
So if it was something like that, it would be you were overserved, because you don't do that very much. But when you do it, you go way overboard. Or you were in an accident and hurt or something.
Okay. I would have to say, if the police called me and said Debbie was in jail.
Oh, you didn't say in jail. You said if the police called you in the middle of the night, what do you think I would have done?
Okay. Well, to answer that, I would say that Debbie probably got in a fight with somebody. Now, I'm not saying that.
I've never fought anybody in my life.
I know that. But nor would I think the police would ever call me in the middle of the night. But if they did, I would just assume that they were telling me, you know what? She just made someone really angry. They took it out on her and she fought back. And now both of them are in jail. So that's what I would think immediately.
First of all, I would never be in a place.
Hey, I'm not saying
I would never be in a place that would start a fight like that. I'm not a drinker. I rarely drink, and if I do, it's a glass or two.
But Debbie has looks. She's got a look that'll stop you in your tracks.
They used to give me slap by my father.
Yeah.
I didn't have to say a word. He would say something, and he said I gave him this look, and he would just slap me right across the face for giving him the look. He said.
I see it all the time, and as a kid, I just went, "Oh no!"
And my first husband, Jeff, he knew that look, and I think Travis is getting to know that look. So I don't know the look. I really don't know the look I give people, but I do give them a look.
You know, every mom has a look, because if we were in church or we were somewhere in public or something, and I looked at my kids a certain way, they knew instantly they were in trouble when we got home.
When Cindy and I would go to church, we were Catholic, so we went to church every Sunday with the family. And Cindy and I would do anything but pay attention. We would count bald heads.
It was so boring.
We would count fur collars on coats. We would count a certain colored shoe as they were coming back from communion. We'd look at everybody's shoes. And one time we were watching the shoes. Some guy walked by with like size 20 feet. They looked like bozo feet.
That.
Cindy and I started laughing so hard. And my mom gave us that look like
leaned over and
looked at us, and we were like, we are in trouble when we get in the car, because in our family, you never laughed in church.
No.
God forbid you laughed in church for any reason.
Very true. God, I still remember that guy's shoes, because luckily we got the front row. We had to get in the front pew, so when you had to kneel while everybody was taking communion, at least in the front row, we can look at everybody walking by, so that gave us
we checked out outfits, we checked out hairdos.
Doing anything but what we were supposed to be doing. All right, got a question for me? And honestly, I didn't ask her that question. I told her, just ask me a question. I don't want to know it.
I'm trying to think, all those questions we wrote down that all those people were asking, and I left that whole folder at home. But there were so many, but a lot of them were the same.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was, one of the questions we got asked a lot was, did we ever date the same guy in high school? That was one of them. Or did I ever steal a boyfriend from you, or did you ever steal a boyfriend from me? But that really never happened because we ran in such different groups.
Yeah, I was a year ahead of her, and that means a lot when you're in high school, actually. And I think in the beginning, I don't think Debbie dated as much as I did. Because we ran in completely different circles, which is kind of funny, because I ran with one circle of friends. She had a different, they didn't really mix. And plus with the age difference, because God forbid, like a sophomore hang out with a freshman, or whatever. It's crazy.
Although she dated guys in my class, so that doesn't fly.
Yeah, that's true.
That year doesn't mean anything.
But even though we ran in separate circles, and we never dated the same guy, never even liked each other's boyfriend, we never
went after each other's
or ex-boyfriends. But we ran in different circles, but yet we always came back together. So we were like the nucleus, and then we kind of went out there. So even
Cindy
though
was mean to me in high school, I'm telling you, she was mean. I would be standing in my locker, grabbing a book out of the top locker, and all of a sudden the thing would slam on my hand. I'd turn around and it was her walking by, and she'd slam the thing shut on me.
Seriously, you guys. We couldn't wear each other's pants, but we could
No, that's not true. I couldn't wear Cindy's because they were too short. She could wear mine because they were really long on her, and she'd wear her platform shoes.
Because we were the same size. She was just taller. So she would put on a shirt of mine, because we had to walk to school every day. Not uphill both ways, but we did have to walk to high school every day. And she would put on one of my shirts, and she'd zip up her coat or something so I couldn't see what she was wearing. And the only time I would ever...
If I didn't have the $1 to rent it from her. She made me rent her clothes for $1 a piece.
I needed money. But I would see her with my shirt and I would get so angry that I'd walk by her top locker and I'd slam it shut on her and she'd just turn around like.
But it didn't matter when she wore my stuff. That was okay. You just couldn't wear her stuff.
But see, Debbie's heart, I would say, okay, can I rent that shirt? And I would go to give her $1 and she'd be like, no, keep it. She'd come and rent a shirt from me. I'm like, thank you.
Or she would say, hey, dude, can I borrow $5? I'll pay you back when I babysit. Oh, sure. I'd give her the $5. A month would pass. Oh, here's that $5 I owed you. Oh, I would say, oh, forget it. She knew I'd do it every time, as long as she waited long enough to pay me.
Oh, the stories we have growing up, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I was a little bit of a troublemaker. I was in trouble all the time. One time, just briefly, one time I was crawling out the window. I was grounded again for something. And I was crawling out the window because there was a big party or something going on. I don't even remember what I was crawling out the window for, but it had to be worth it. So our house, we had windows at ground level. It was a sub-basement. And I was crawling out the window.
It was a garden level basement.
Yeah, so I crawled out the window and my grandfather was driving by and I knew I was busted because he didn't live that far from us. And I think Debbie asked him something like, are you going to tell on us?
No, you weren't crawling out. You were crawling back in.
Oh, maybe.
Why would he be out at 9 o'clock at night? Grandpa was coming over that morning and saw you crawling back in your window.
So he said,
Cindy would crawl back in at 7 and go take a shower like she just got up.
The worst thing I ever did, I didn't make curfew, and I never did. I always got in trouble for not making curfew. But I knew that I couldn't make curfew. So what I did is I called the house and my dad picked up the phone and said, hello. And he was mad that the phone was ringing that late at night. I said, oh, I'm sorry, Dad, I got it. Because that's back when you can pick up, other extensions in the house. And he goes, all right, don't make it a habit or whatever he said. He hung up the phone. I hung up the phone so my dad thought I was at home. So that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, I was a goody-goody growing up. Like, I was always worried that I was going to upset my dad. And
one time, Debbie and I ditched school because I had it down to a science.
So ditch school. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
We'll have a great day. Mom and Dad are working, 25 minutes away at our restaurant. They won't even know we're home.
So we walk home. I told her how the path to do so nobody sees us leaving school. We walk home, and she hid up in her bedroom all day because she thought a truant officer was going to come and get us. Oh, real fun, Deb. Locked in her bedroom.
This is really fun ditching. I'm never doing this again. Plus, I worked in the dean's office. I mean, I was a goody-goody. It's really embarrassing when you've got to go call your sister on the phone. You get a pass. The dean wants to see Cindy. I know she's not in school, and I've got to call her from the payphone. Hey, you better get here. The deans are looking for you. Oh, Cindy was a nightmare. Her high school years were a nightmare.
I had fun. But you know what? I turned out okay. So everything happens
by the grace of God. She turned out okay. Yeah. The fact that she's even alive as an adult is amazing. Fun. It's all, I'm sure you all have the same kind of stories with your brothers and sisters. And it's been a hellacious year for us. We lost my brother. We lost Eric. I lost my new mother-in-law. It's been really a sad 6 months. I mean, March 6th with Eric. June 1st was my brother. And then November 24th, I lost my mother-in-law.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's kind of why we disappeared for a while, but, coming back, it feels good. It feels like we're just talking to family again, and so thanks for hanging in there with us. Thanks for chatting. I don't know if any of you are still here, good 27 minutes into the video, but you know what I'd love to hear from you guys is if you have a sibling, I'd love to hear, like, one thing that you did to your sister or brother that just... like we used to torture my little sister.
Here's the worst thing that we ever did to my sister, Cindy. My brother and I, we were doing something in her room and she came home. We were looking for something, candy probably. And we heard her come down the stairs and I'm like, oh, Cindy's home. So she goes, "What are you doing in my room?" And my brother grabbed an encyclopedia and came up behind her and hit her over the head with the encyclopedia. Well, Cindy, we knocked her out.
Yeah, they did.
She dropped like a sack of potatoes, and I'm like, "Oh, what did you do?"
Of course, my parents weren't home at the time.
And I'm standing there staring at her. I'm like, she's starting to, like wake up, and I'm like, "Oh, Lord, she's waking up!" And he hits her again on top of the head with the encyclopedia, knocks her out again. I said, "Whoa, we better get out of here!" We took off. We got out of the house because we were so afraid of her.
They don't even know. I know. I know. Oh my gosh. So anyway, so if you have a little story like that, maybe not quite so violent, we'd love to hear from you. So thanks for hanging out with us at our pajama party. And if you guys like this, no, we'll do it again. Depends on the comments, I guess.
Leave us some questions that we can answer for you this time. If you want to leave a question, if you're interested in anything about our lives. I know you think, who cares about your lives?
I know.
You're just two little YouTubers. Who cares about? We're being asked, so I figured we'd share a little bit.
We get asked constantly. Oh, love hearing your stories. Love hearing your blog. Blah blah blah. All right, so we did it. So
we'll come at you again. We'll try to do this like once a month and fill you in on what happened to us this month, and maybe you can leave us some comments on what's going on in your lives. We love reading about that too.
Oh yeah, I do very much. All right. And with that, we'll sign off. We're going to go to bed.
Good night, ladies.
Good night.
Have a great rest of your week. Bye.